Let's write a C program for implementing Deque. These are standard C library header files. stdio.h is included for input-output operations, and stdlib.h is included for dynamic memory allocation. This line defines the maximum size of the Deque. Now let's define a Deque structure. This keyword is used to give a new name to an existing data type. This defines an unnamed structure containing int data max size, an array of integer to store the elements of the Deque. Max size is a constant defining the maximum size of the Deque. Int front and rear, two integers to keep track of the front and rear of the Deque. By using type def, this whole structure is named Deque. So Deque is a structure containing an array data to hold elements of the Deque, and front and rear to keep track of the front and rear elements. Now write a function to initialize a Deque. This function initializes a Deque by setting both front and rear indices to -1, indicating that the Deque is empty. Here Deque is a pointer to a Deque structure. By using this operator, we access the members of the Deque structure through the pointer Deque and set their values. Function to check if the Deque is empty. This empty function checks whether the Deque is empty or not. If both front and rear indices are -1, the Deque is considered to be empty. The function returns 1 if the Deque is empty and 0 otherwise. Function to check if the Deque is full. This function checks if the Deque is full by checking if the next position of the rear index is equal to the front index, or if front is at index 0 and rear is at index max size -1. It returns 1 if the Deque is full or 0 otherwise. Function to add element at front end of the Deque. This add front function adds an element to the front end of the Deque. It first checks if the Deque is full using the isFull function. If the Deque is not full, it checks if the Deque is empty. If it is, it sets both front and rear to 0. If the Deque is not empty, it decrements the front and wraps around if necessary to make space for the new element. Finally, it adds the new element at position indicated by the front index. Function to add element at rear end of Deque. The add rear function adds an element to the rear end of the Deque. It first checks if the Deque is full using the isFull function. If the Deque is not full, it checks if the Deque is empty. If it is, it sets both front and rear to 0. If the Deque is not empty, it increments rear and wraps around if necessary to make space for the new element. Finally, it adds the new element at the position indicated by the rear index. Function to delete element from front end of the Deque. The delete front function deletes an element from the front end of the Deque. It first checks if the Deque is empty using isEmpty function. If the Deque is not empty, it checks if there is only one element in the Deque. If there is, it sets both front and rear to -1, indicating an empty Deque. If there is more than one element, it increments front to remove the element from the front end of the Deque. Function to delete element from the rear end of the Deque. The delete rear function deletes an element from the rear end of the Deque. It first checks if the Deque is empty using isEmpty function. If the Deque is not empty, it checks if there is only one element in the Deque. If there is, it sets both front and rear to -1, indicating the empty Deque. If there is more than one element, it decrements the rear and wraps around if necessary to remove the element from the rear end of the Deque. Function to get the rear element of the Deque. The getRear function returns the element at the rear end of the Deque without removing it. It first checks if the Deque is empty using the isEmpty function. If the Deque is not empty, it returns the element at the rear end of the Deque. Function to get the front element of the Deque. This function checks if the Deque is not empty using isEmpty function. If the Deque is empty, it prints an error message and returns -1. If the Deque is not empty, it returns the front element of the Deque. Function to display the elements of the Deque. The display function prints all the elements of the Deque. It first checks if the Deque is empty using isEmpty function. If the Deque is not empty, it prints all the elements of the Deque from front to rear. It uses a while loop to iterate through the elements of the Deque and prints each element. Let's write the main function. First, we initialize the Deque using initDeque function and add elements to the Deque using the add front, add rear. Then we display the elements of the Deque using the display function, which prints Deque elements. Then delete the elements from the Deque using the delete function, delete front and delete rear. Now display the elements of the deck again using the display, which now prints the remaining deck elements. Finally, get and print the front and rear elements of the deck using the get front and get rear. The output is